I know it's been a long time since I did a podcast episode, but today I wanted to just do it in person, not just being vocally, but actually just doing it in person. So today's title of this podcast is going to be Addiction Bonded to Abduction. And so definition of really, because addiction is of course being addicted to something and having a stronghold. But as far as with being abducted, well, as far as with abduction, is the act of taking someone away by force or cunning, kidnapping. Kidnapping often implies force, confinement, and a criminal motive like ransom. While abduction is a broader term which used for taking someone by persuasion, fraud, or force, especially in family disputes, or to prevent them from returning home, and doesn't always involve financial gain or severe further harm. So the thing is, the reason why he gave it to me, well, I feel like the reason why he gave it to me, of course, Holy Spirit cleared up, is that of course in regard to dealing with abduction and especially with addiction is that addiction of course can kill. We know that there are situations, we know that there's different forms of addiction. I think that's the thing really. Forms of addiction of as far as with being addicted to pornography, being addicted to lustful situation, or really addiction is like you're getting a high of something like that thrill that you're getting it off on. And something that my therapist had told me before was that, and this is just about me, is that the reason why being promiscuous or being out in the streets or whatever, sleeping with all these different people was as far as with an addiction because it was a high I got off of it. The high that I got off that was feeling as far as with I was worthy, feeling like in regarding of self worth, essentially, let's say it that way. And so it was good. It was fine. It was great. However, it was only temporary. And so out of that temporary satisfaction, I didn't get anything behind it. I didn't get as far as with a long journey of or a long road of feeling like I'm great enough or I'm doing enough. But I wasn't. Honestly, it was like doing it after I got my high. I still felt low. I still felt like depressed. I still felt like I wasn't great. I still felt like I was just all the things that people would say about me, like my looks, how I am, how I talk, it all came rushing back. And I think that's the thing as far as with being addicted and having addiction, it's only just for temporary fun. It's only for a temporary time. You know, the addiction as far as with, of course, being addicted to things, the abduction part of it. What God gave me as far as what the abduction is, especially when it goes into being left without things because of being persuaded or really just being tricked, which abduction just really just sounds like devil's work in play. And so one of the things that he gave me was just that the fact is the devil will try to abduct your gift, and he will try to abduct your calling, because your calling is tied to God, is tied to God's glory, as well as it's tied to the things that he's going to bless you with. The thing is, the devil is just saying, if I can just get you just a little bit distracted, then you will go down a path that you start making wrong decisions. You start second guessing yourself from what God told you to do. It's so many other things that really is just all part of his tricks and all part of his schemes. And so the thing is, even with that is, you don't have to be bonded to those two things, or literally those things that you've dealt with in life that made you be bonded to addiction, which then translated and transformed to being abducted, where you feel like your gift or your calling has been abducted and as far as what is held for ransom by the devil. But the God that we serve, of course, we can get back what was lost. So things are not necessarily abducted. However, feeling of abducted, being having that feeling of being abducted in regard of your spirit man is being held up for ransom because you're like just sitting here lost. You don't know what to do. And I've been there. Part of my life and literally throughout my life journey, like I've dealt with being addicted to, as far as like promiscuous activity, being addicted to weed. And that's the odd thing. Most people's like, you can't be addicted to weed. Yes, you can. Because literally every payday, or even when you don't have payday, you only have a little bit left. Instead of going to get food, you're going out and get weed. And then it doesn't even help that then you get free weed. And then it's like, oh, okay, great. However, you are addicted to that feeling. And I believe that's the thing with addiction is being addicted to a feeling that you feel like you can't get of your own. Or really, you're being addicted to a feeling or to an emotion or either running away for something because you don't want to deal with it, and it's all God can literally give you that of the feeling of peace, the feeling of joy, those laughs that you have when you're high that you can't control, those just activities. God can literally put you in the right mindset to give you that. And I think that often, and especially with me, was, do I believe that God can do it? Yes. Was there a point in my time where I feel like he can't? Absolutely. I believe, especially when I was addicted to those things because I was running away from my true self, but it was also because I didn't want to be accountable of one of my actions. Two, I didn't want to be accountable of my own emotions that I just seemed to let go. I was in such a dark place, in a place where I felt like I didn't have nowhere to go, in a place where I just wanted to be alone. However, in that place, I ended up connecting and being bonded with different people in different places because it made me feel great. However, in those dark places, I've learned so much about hurt and as well as hurt that you cause because you have not done and walked through the breakdown and the breakthrough. So you just became a person that was, of course, hurting other people and feeling the sense of love that you think that you can get from somewhere else, but you can't. And I believe that's the thing that sets everything apart because what you may think is perfect is not perfect. What you may think is good is actually not good. And it's just been it's been quite some time, honestly. I think for me to get to the point that I am now, it definitely has took a lot of the forgiveness, as far as like forgiveness of myself, forgiveness of others. That includes in regard to the hurt that I felt when I was a kid, or hurt that I felt when I was a teenager, and even as an adult, and just letting that go. And so it's like sometimes I ask myself, like, am I truly worthy to really carry my cross? Honestly, because it's like so many things I've done in the past. It's like I oftentimes think like, okay, can God forgive me? Will he forgive me? If I just lay it all at his feet, but then I lay it all at his feet, but then I pick it back up. And what good does that actually do? And it's so many times that I've cried and cried because of just the hurt that I even caused myself from feeling like in bondage of the things that I was addicted to, the lifestyle I chose, the lifestyle I had lived. And it's like God is saying, I forgive you and I love you. Just come back. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's someone where it feels like having trust issues with them, where it's hard to trust them because, and the natural, you've trusted people who have let you down, or especially ones that said, I love you and I'll give you my all, and then they all just go away. And it's hard to trust a God and hard to trust someone that we can't see. But yet we have to make a way because there is a way. And it's just, I just think about in regard to where I was. I just watched a video of myself when it was a couple years back, and it was me in church, and I was worship altar call, I believe, and I was up there praying and just kind of watching the video. Then look how I am now. It's completely two different people, but it's the same person. But it's two different mentalities. I believe that's the thing. It's two different mentalities, two different mindsets and thinking. Years before, was I all in and trusting God with everything? No, because after I would do a sinful act, I would go back to God and be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Like, please forgive me." And you know, just as taught in church, like, "Okay, cool, He'll forgive me." Now, if I mess up, then I'm going to God in tears and I'm crying out and I'm seeking His face, like, come to me and speak to me for forgiveness. Like, I'm so sorry, because it's the heart posture in it. While I trust someone who has given their all for me, and now I'm in a position to give my all back and to just lay everything down at His feet, to continue to seek Him, because the gifts that He gave me and the talents that He gave me can easily be taken away. And that's something that I often think about, which is why I just continue to serve Him. Feeling, having that addiction is hard. And the thing is, like, my dad, for instance, he was addicted to alcohol. He developed a drinking habit that surpassed all. I remember there was a time, I can laugh about it now, but I also was a little kid. But there was a time to where he picked me up from, I believe, school, or he picked me up from somewhere. I think it was like from my mom's job. He picked me up from there, and we was driving down the road, and then the police came, pulled him over, and all of a sudden, I remember we were in the back of a cop car. Me and him just sitting in the back of a cop car. And I was so confused. But also, as a kid, I thought it was funny. And I was enjoying myself. Very odd. And then I remember we got to the police station, put him in handcuffs. And then my mom came and then picked me up, and then we were off. It wasn't until later that I realized he got pulled over because he had a suspended license due to him drinking. And I forgot the year, but it was the year where my dad graduated from AA, and as far as look being, I believe he was a year or two sober, and he was sober ever since. But it was seeing his face after his graduation, where he was able to literally beat odds. He was able to beat in regard to the plans that the enemies had for him. He was able to conquer his demons, of his inner demons, and face them head on, instead of living in the addiction that he was in. And so with me, I give myself grace, but I also know the same dad that, of course, once beat his demons as far as with alcohol, he also still had other demons where he had to face, and those was honestly as far as with being promiscuous. And he battled with them. He reached marriage, but even after marriage, he still was battling because he was known as a smooth talker, very charismatic, good with words, like great with words, was able to talk and you know everything of that nature. But what I later learned was he only beat the addiction spirit of one, but he didn't beat it all, which I felt like in regarding of was passed down to me. And no, I'm not addicted to alcohol or anything like that. But as far as like smoking and dealing with promiscuous, that's demons that I'm facing. And honestly, with faith and dedication and hearing from God's word, I do believe that those walls will come down. That I have the courage or I have the fight, the strength to beat those demons. I think there's one part of me that is scared, or I wouldn't even say scared, but I would say that I'm a little bit anxious. Good anxious, not bad anxious, but good anxious because me having the capabilities to defeat something and to literally break generational curse and generational patterns, what is that going to look like? Like, what does it look like for my kids? What does it look like for the generation ahead of me? As well as what would it have looked like if my dad had beaten it when he was here? Who would I have been today? What would I have to say or to do? Like, what is it? But I think that him not beating that addiction set me up for a comeback and a payback where it stops with me so that way it doesn't go with my bloodline. And it was given, and it was with me having those or been in that type of environment and been in that lifestyle. What does my testimony look like? Can you literally can you imagine? I'm pretty sure you can, but like everything that you've been through, every sense of tests and trials, the triumphs, everything that you've been through, your testimony is going to be so powerful because your testimony is the key to someone else's breakthrough, which is also the key to break their generational pattern. And all we have to do is, of course, live through it and break it so that way we can share it. And my God, I'm still as first standing. And I think that's with my with the lifestyle I had chosen. And the addiction that I had chosen, I was never I was never told, okay, you're gonna get married one day, or you're gonna have kids, or like I never was told a prosperous thing in that lifestyle. I was only told like, oh, you're great, and oh, like you do this good, and oh, like sex is good, and oh, come get high with me, or all of this thing to keep me there, to keep me bonded with an addiction that I really didn't need, or an addiction that I chose, but God didn't. Because God wanted to free me from those addictions. But I created a bed in those addiction houses because it felt like home. It felt like something that I needed. It felt like something that would make me feel in a sense of peace because of the things that I was running from, which is all what I was running from was really from the will of God, is what I was running from. So then being in that lifestyle, being addicted to pornography, addicted to smoking, addicted to promiscuity, those addiction, having a narcissistic personality that I felt like I could manipulate people, that I felt like I could control, where I feel like I control the narrative and not people control me. But that didn't put me nowhere good. That didn't put me in a light. That didn't put me in a place where I felt like was great. In the end, it just only caused destruction along the way. And so, what is destruction without clarity? Because even when things blow up, you then have clarification about what is needed, what you needed to do in the jail part. But with the lack of accountability, how can I believe in true words that should have been spoken to me, are literally words of my mother that she used to call me, and I used to take it for granted, or I would just take it like, oh, okay, cool, you're a church going woman. But to actually stand in it and actually be a part of that is something that, of course, I should have been in, but I had it to learn. I had to see what the world offers, see what is out there. But when I found out what was in the world, it was nothing but death, turmoil, depression, anxiety. But with God, it's only peace, love, surrender, prosperity, a future long hoped for. And now, every decision that I make, everything I do, I can't think like, what if I didn't have God on my side? Like I go and talk to him every day and ask him like, what is his thoughts? What is, before I go do this, should I go do this? Before I go buy this, should I buy this? Because, not because in a sense of, or it feels like I'm asking somebody for permission, is because he knows my beginning and the end. So if I go out and decide to say, hey, I'm going to buy this new 2027 Toyota Corolla, and I go in and buy it without consulting him, then I could end up in debt. Or I could end so many other things. So it's like, if I'm in the palm of his hands and he knows the plans that he has for me, even when I mess up, but why would I want to go a different route instead of just staying on his course? I believe that's just the beauty in regard of my conversations with him. And it's like, turn all my worries and cares, I just turn those into prayers every single time. My prayers are just conversations, just like I'm talking to you or talking to my friends or talking to family. Those are just conversations because that's the kind of prayer life that I want. And so going back, so with having been addicted to so many things, different things, I then felt like my gifts and talents were abducted, or I didn't have them anymore. Like I can sense the things that I sense. Or what about if I can't do the things that I can do? Like for other, like for instance, I can think about like sports person. So if their gifts were as far as like being amazing in football or basketball, soccer, whatever, being gifted in those where they outperforming everybody. However, their addiction and the things that they go into jeopardize their lifestyle. So it's like we have professional not superstars, jeez, professional sports people who then would become addicted to drugs or being addicted to gambling or being addicted to lust. And we see that in regard their lives go a whole different route because all it took was for the enemy to, as far as with create a path or create a thought that then they just go down the rabbit hole and end up in somewhere place they shouldn't have been. People who have gambled their lives away, but their gifts and talents of being this sports star all fell to the cracks because they allowed the devil to, as far as like, hold their gifts for ransom. And all they had to do was go and talk to God, and he can get back what was actually stolen. He ain't paying no ransom. He already paid the ransom when he when Jesus hung up on the cross. That was the ransom. Okay. So our addiction gives our talents and gives our belongings away. In order to get it back, all we have to do is seek him, then we'll get it back where it's completely ours. I think the thing is, this is the real question is, how deep are you? Like, how deep in addiction are you? How deep are you in the well? Are you where you feel like you can't get out? Where you feel like you were suffocating? Where you feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel? Where you just feel like, well, all is lost. Well, that's it. I'm already deep in this. Like, for instance, like, I guess I'm thinking about like promiscuous people. Like, people who are like, let's say on the streets, like we have the hookers and the pimps, and then we have, yeah, I'm not even gonna say strippers, but we have the hookers and pimps, and especially a person who's a hooker and all they do is sell their body, where they feel like that's all they can do, and then they get addicted to drugs because they're addicted to this situation, and then it just comes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and then they feel like they are trapped and can't get out. But the thing is, the reason why you feel like you can't get out is because you haven't opened your ears to hear from God. It's like God has literally shown in the Bible where he has took a prostitute and made them a person of interest and a person that is being talked about to this day. So it sounds bad, but I'm gonna just say it anyway. God can save the hoes and the hoettes. I don't even know that's a word, but I just felt like it was coming. So it's like God can literally turn your life around, and it's really just taking that ransom that the enemy feel like he has took. Enemy feels like he has brought you down to a place where you have no self-respect, you have no dignity, your passions are gone. He took everything from you because you chose something else that became an addiction. But literally, he is all talk, no action. Because the one true God Because when you give your life over to him and when you accept him as Lord Jesus Christ in your life, he comes in. It means you have him. And for those who don't have him, get to know him because he can save your life. Because what would happen is, the thing is, which I feel like, I don't know if it's a misconception or not, but I just kind of feel like, the thing is, God can speak to anybody. So many different ways he can speak to you. So many different, he has many different options to speak with you. It can be a bird, it can be a song, it can be a person, it can be a thing. It's like his voice is everywhere. But it's just up to you to listen, then of course obey in his word. So it's like, don't ever, and I can say for me who was in a homosexual lifestyle, and especially a relationship, and going out and being promiscuous and doing all this, and even my mom, church going woman, and family was church going people, pastors, and everything. I was just like, at an early age, I felt like I was different because I wasn't like the others. Playing sports, I played basketball and I played baseball, and then when I grew up, I played tennis. But I wasn't a sports person. I don't watch NFL. I watch tennis mainly. So, but anyway, I felt like I was different from like my family. Not saying that's a bad thing. However, I felt like I was unique. And then what happened was, and how I really dove into swimming that ocean of darkness and dealing with that was, I used to get teased in school a lot. People would call me, of course, gay, would call me sweet just because how I talked. I didn't even wear tight pants. But how I talked, people was just like, oh, okay, so this is what you are, because I didn't sound like a man. I didn't present myself. I was like, hey, da, da, da. That wasn't me. I was nerd, play video games, read comic books, being on the computer, being a computer whiz. That was just me. That's where I felt my comfort. And I felt like with what they were calling me and the names that they were calling me, this must be who I am. Based on what they were saying about me, I felt like, oh, okay, cool. So that's my identity. That's who I am. And so that just led to me swimming in those shallow waters, going into deep territory of being involved in situations and places and people that I shouldn't have been in. And then just, it later became my addiction. What I once didn't know about, I knew a lot. And it became my addiction because all during school and high school, I was being picked on. And because of how I am, and I wasn't really accepted. So I began to accept this narrative just that way I can be accepted. That way I can feel, a sense of love and a sense of accomplishments and everything of that nature. Because I didn't know my self worth. Honestly, at the time, I didn't have any self worth. I didn't have anything to offer. I didn't have anything to really believe in because I felt like those people, and we're gonna new people I met, knew me best. However, what I found out later on, when I actually started my relationship with God and really got strong and in my word and praying to Him and talking to Him and allowing Him to lead me, guide me, all the rest of my days, is that those people only knew part of me. But those people only knew the hurt part of me. Those people only knew the addicted part of me who enjoyed the praises, who enjoyed feeling worthy of being in their presence and feeling like I look like money. Like, I don't know. But they only knew me in my addiction, but they didn't know me in my healing. And I'm standing here and I'm here now because of how God is healing me. And I'm also in different ways He is. And honestly, I think that's the part when I say before where I was anxious. Like, I feel anxious because in order to be healed from addiction, in order to get back what the enemy stole and held as ransom, that means God's light's going to have to shine in dark places that even I don't want to revisit. I know it's a good thing. I know it's the best thing ever for him to do it. I know it is. I just know it is. However, I think the part of me where I was feeling anxious because of those dark places, I think the only thing that's different now is that I'm not walking in those dark places alone. I'm actually walking in those dark places with God by my side, who is the light to shine through, and He's holding my hand as we go through those dark places. Yeah, though hurtful because those are places that I hid away because I didn't want nobody else to know about it, or I didn't feel comfortable revealing that side of me. However, God is showing me those places are beautiful places because those dark areas hold fresh ground and fresh fruit that is waiting to blossom, but all it needs is light. And it's like, what about if the things you may feel like you're addicted to and the things that you feel like is lost and gone, what about if I'm here to say just that it's not? Like, you can still get it back. No matter how old you are, you can still get it back. You can still accomplish those goals that you have. Your life is not over. Your life is not ended. Your life has not just gone and withered away. And especially, you go and seek Him. You go and literally pour it at His feet and you give it to Him all. And He just cradles you and rock you like a baby because, my gosh, I've felt it before. But even in those times, He can heal you from those addiction and that type of mentality. And it's just really just allow Him to light up those places in your life. No matter how hard it's going to be, no matter how hard it may feel, and especially something that I had to realize, it doesn't even matter if the people that knew you're addicted but not your healing didn't know your salvation but only knew your hurt, that only knew just your promiscuity personality but didn't know the God in you. If they just go away, then allow them to go away. Because if they're not worthy to accept the healing side of you, then they were never really there for you because they only supported the darkness that you held. Only because your darkness gave light to them. But as long as they keep you buried down, you would never come up. Don't allow nobody to dim your light. Don't allow nobody to stop your shine. And I know you may hear that a lot, but it's true. And something that I was reading in the Bible. So in Isaiah 26, verse 3, and I'm reading from the New American Standard Bible. It's not Tony Evans' Bible. Yeah. Mama got it for me. Anyway, it says, the steadfast in mind you will keep in perfect peace because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for in God the Lord we have an everlasting rock. For he has brought low those who dwell on high, the unaccessible land. He lays it low. He lays it low to the ground. He casts it to the dust. The foot would trample it, the feet of the poor, the steps of the helpless. The way of the righteous is smooth. O upright one, make the path of the righteous land. Indeed, while following the way of your judgments, Lord, we have waited for you eagerly. Your name and remembering you is the desire of our souls. At night, my soul longs for you. Indeed, my spirit within me seeks you diligently. For when the earth experiences your judgments, the inhabitants of the world learn righteousness. Though the wicked person is shown compassion, he does not learn righteousness. He dwells unjustly in the land of uprightness and does not perceive the majesty of the Lord. And so you can't expect to have peace around you if you do not have peace within yourself, which is very true, actually. Honestly, it's like day by day are times that I'm doing this, and I really have to do more. Is that these things are bonds, two things that are bonded, were all describing me or parts of me. Well, the things that I'm healing from, like the addiction, the abduction, feeling of being addicted to things, and feeling like the enemy just took away everything. That I don't have anything. I don't have a. It's like I realized, like not I realize now, but where I was before, where I felt like I didn't have a purpose, or I didn't, or like, what is my special gift? When, like, all of that. But it's like God is literally showing me what my purpose is, what the vision is, what is part of my destiny, because it hasn't revealed everything. So it's like for those who are out there listening and watching, who may feel like being bonded, and not necessarily my addictions that I face, you may have your own addiction, and then may feel like in regarding to things that you had your dreams and your vision of your life that you feel like is not going away because you had a child with a man that don't even love you no more, or you grew up in a foster home and now you feel like you don't have no purpose because now you have a bad attitude and bad behavior and you feel like it just travels along with you. But no, because even then, I don't think most people realize you can also be addicted to hurt. You can also be addicted to pain, not necessarily just drinking and all of that, but because being addicted to the hurt because you want to stay in that hurtful mentality, you want to stay in that painful mentality where then you hurt other people or you hurt yourself. And then you become addicted to the pain because you know your behaviors is causing that, but you just don't feel like you want to change. Or you don't feel like, what's the point of changing? It don't matter if you're at a lower age or high up in age. You can literally turn your life around. It's never too late. The only people that say it's never too. The only people say that it's late, it's past your time, you can't do anything, is because of the people who want you to stay where you at. I told a friend the other day she was going through a situation and people were just giving her encouragement, like, "Oh, stay fighting." Da, 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 da. And I told her, I was like, "Stop fighting." I was like, "I'm not going to give you false encouragement. I'm not going to fill your head with hopes and dreams if I see that right now you ain't listening and you ain't paying attention. So let me hit you directly in the heart and tell you what you probably need to do. The thing that you didn't even think that you needed to do." Honestly, we just gotta do that. And I feel like even right now, I'm not giving you false encouragement. I'm not saying you got to fight. No. Of course you got to fight. Stop living in a situation that you know you don't belong in because you don't hold residence there. Stop paying rent in an addiction that you have already been healed from, but yet you go back because you feel like you're not worthy of the new life that God has chosen for you. Stop living in the arms of a man that don't even love you, don't even care for you. Stop living in a situation where you feel like your hopes and dreams and the vision that you have and the things that you want to do is not welcomed in a place that you sleep at night. Because where you lay your head and where you are should still be filled with all of your dreams and your hopes, because you still can accomplish it. The fight is not over unless you let it go. And I promise you, and I tell you, do not let go of the fight. Because honestly, the person right here is a very healed version of how he was years ago. Heck, a couple months ago or whatever. And I stand here only because of the grace of God and the glory of God. That's the only reason why I'm standing here. Because my gosh, the enemy, man, enemy is definitely trying to get rid of me through an accident, through sickness, like. But God said, no, do not touch my anointed, which is what my mom used to call me. But all right, fam. Until next time, until the next episode of Unlikely Bonds, you guys be blessed. Pray that you have a great day, great night, wherever you are. And just stay tuned.